Hello everyone, welcome to the second edition of the Gurumantra podcast. And here is your Guru Charan Kumar. Today we have a student guest speaker, Arushi Pant, who scored 40 points in the final IBA. Arushi was the Pathways World School Gurgaon head girl for the year 2021 and 22. Arushi is an ambitious girl who someone has a strong desire to achieve a success by meeting her goals in the DP, and a compassionate student who can both feel and express the sympathy for others. I can say with clear words that she can handle any situation with a full maturity when she was in Pathways head girl. Arushi, welcome to the Guru Mantra podcast and introduce yourself.
Hello, Guru Sir. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm honored to be part of your podcast. So, I'm Arushi Pant. I was the head girl of Pathways World School Aravali, as mentioned by Guru Sir. And though I was just there for 2 years, I had just a wonderful IB journey. It was definitely a roller coaster ride with many ups and a few downs. But I had a wonderful experience, and I'm kind of sad it's over, because it was just continuous ride that I never wanted to stop. But I'm glad as well, because I truly learned so much from it. And I am basically going to University of Southern California now in about 14 days. I'll be pursuing a double major in business administration and music, which is a passion of mine. And I am a lover of music. I love to travel around, and I like playing squash recently. I'm a big foodie, and TOK surprisingly was one of my favorite subjects in IBDP. So these are a few facts about me and a small introduction about myself.
Thank you, Arushi. So we are moving to some of the questions first related to TOK. Arushi, sure. Tell me, during the grade 11, how did you select your TOK prompt and object? And tell me, what all struggle did you face as a newcomer, and how did you overcome?
Right. So this is a very interesting question, because a lot of people have asked me, whenever I say that I like TOK, they always wonder, and they always are kind of shocked when I say that's one of my favorite subjects. Because whenever people hear theory of knowledge, they don't even understand what it means. And that was me before joining Pathways. I was just so scared about, the core of IB. I thought I'd manage the other subjects because, I could choose the subject I wanted to do. But theory of knowledge was compulsory for the diploma, and I was just frightened by the phrase itself. But so initially I was of course scared of the term, but I feel like I got a wonderful teacher in my first year, which was you as one of them. And initially I used to not participate in class too much because of this preconceived notion that I had that TOK is a very difficult, and it's a subject that you're going to really struggle with, and it's just so confusing. But I feel like one thing that I'd always remember was getting the known TOK star student award in class, which Guru Sir created himself. And I think all of us, everyone in his class, we all just wanted to get that award, that sort of recognition in class. So that motivated us in some sort of way to do our research, to take part in all the conversations and discussions. We used to have small quizzes in between as well. So we were actively involved in the class, and I think that's what really made me love the subject so much. So I feel definitely being involved in class in TOK is what first made me overcome that fear of as a newcomer, and made me love the subject as much as I do right now. And the first part of your question, which was the objects that I chose, right, and what prompt I selected. So I remember initially while going through the prompts, I went through all of them. And what stood out to me was the one that I chose, which was essentially what challenges are faced while disseminating knowledge or information. It was something around that. And I really was intrigued to know about it because, I love talking. I love communicating. And as you can see right now. So I just know how the different areas of knowledge, be it language, be it cultures, how all of these different areas of knowledge, exist, and how, communication it gets difficult to this. For example, in one of the prompts that I chose, one of the objects that I chose, which was my first object, I chose a picture of me distributing sanitary napkins to rural girls in West Bengal. So again, a tip that I would give is that, choose objects that are very personal to you, because it's really easy to write about it, right? So that's what I did consistently with all the three objects I chose. And so it was basically, how language, because I was basically trying to communicate the importance of, sanitary napkins and menstrual hygiene to rural girls from West Bengal. But because of the barrier of language, which is an area like, area of knowledge, I struggled, and that was a challenge I faced. So it was just so interesting to really think and reflect on all the work that I'm doing, outside of school, and all the things that I'm passionate about. Like, for example, the third object as well was part of my music portfolio. It was a project that I did. It was basically a research on Marvin Gaye, who is a vocalist who is black, and he is all about black movement, and he tries to create change about Black Lives Matter through his voice, and that's something that I'm passionate about as well. So really research about how different musicians face all these challenges while trying to disseminate information about Black Lives Matter was something that truly resonated to me, and that's what I found really interesting, and that's how I basically chose these particular objects that related to my prompt.
Brilliant. So you got an A in the TOK, which is not easy for everyone. So can you tell 2 tips to score in the TOK exhibition from your experience?
For sure. So one thing, as I mentioned earlier, was to take objects that are very personal to you. If it's just very random, like, for example, a random magazine article or something that, maybe you like reading, but it doesn't really resonate to you, or really doesn't hit you, to the core, then, you won't be able to write all that you have in your mind, or you won't really want to research more about it, right? Like, of course, you would want to know more about something that you actually like doing, or something that resonates to you, or that's personal to you. So choose objects that are extremely personal to you to be able to achieve a good grade in the TOK exhibition. And the second tip I would give is be very open-minded. For example, I didn't just pinpoint at the first prompt I saw, and I didn't be like, this is what I'm going to do. I looked into all the different prompts. I tried to find objects for different prompts as well, and then saw that what really resonated with me, what could I write more about, and then I narrowed it down. So just be very open-minded about your approach when you're choosing a prompt as well.
Brilliant. So Arushi, how did you prepare yourself to write a grade TOK essay?
Right. So the TOK essay was something that, I had a lot of fun with the exhibition, but the TOK essay was something that I did struggle with. And I'll tell you how. I chose the topic, how can you distinguish between good and bad interpretations, right? And I found that interesting because we all have different interpretations, and I was really intrigued to know, especially in the area of knowledge art, because as I mentioned, music is something that really resonates to me. I wanted to know how good and bad interpretations influence us in some sort of way, and how to distinguish them. But I remember I completely went on the wrong path initially. I wrote about why do we distinguish good and bad interpretations, and instead of how. And Ela ma'am, who was my TOK supervisor for my essay, she helped me. She just told me that just read the question 10 times and identify a mistake. And then I remember she told me to put the prompt in each of my page, in the heading, so that I keep relating and write whatever that answers the question, because at the end of the day, what the examiner wants is for you to answer whatever is on the prompt, right? So that's what I did, and then I realized on what basis, which it means how, right? How do we distinguish means on what basis do you distinguish between good and bad interpretation, and that's how I structured my essay, and that's how I basically I looked into biases and different examples, formed different arguments, counter arguments, different sort of side points of view, and then I structured my essay to achieve a good grade in it.
So Arushi, why is the structure of a TOK essay so important? And can you tell, how do you structure your TOK essay?
Right. So I feel TOK, because of the preconceived notion that we all have, that it's so difficult to understand, right? Structured, I feel. If there's a good introduction, then on to the different areas of knowledge, and then you end with the counter arguments and then the conclusion. And unless you do that, then of course it's going to be confusing, right? It's like any other essay. You wouldn't want to read, first an area of knowledge, then you go back to the area of knowledge after writing 2 more essays. So it of course gets confusing to the examiner as well, or to any reader, for instance. So that's why the structure is so important. I remember giving in my first draft, and I wrote the introduction, and then I wrote the first area of knowledge, and then I wrote the second area of knowledge. Then I went back to the first area of knowledge, and then my supervisor just gave a lot of question marks. Why is this there? And then I realized that this doesn't make sense. Why is it here? It should be in the first paragraph. So that's how I structured it. I first wrote the introduction, then I focused on one area of knowledge, then I went to the other one, then I gave the counter arguments, and then I went into the conclusion. And I think that really helped me in achieving a good grade, because even I was able to understand completely what I wrote. And I think you should, one tip that I would give you on structuring your essay, make someone who doesn't know what TOK is read it. If they can understand it like completely, that means your essay is good. So I did that. I made my mom read it, and initially, like the first time she read it, she was just so confused. She was like, Arushi, what have you done? And then I restructured it and made it more simpler, because of course at the end of the day, writing fancy words again is something I feel like really doesn't help with the structure. It should be easy to read, simple to understand, so that anyone can read it, and that's what makes TOK great, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah.
So Arushi, in 2 years, I have seen you a lot of times, your critical thinking skill, being on the stage or handling the situation or talking to the entire grade and 11 and 12. So how do you develop a critical thinking skill in the IB, which was helpful for your TOK also?
Right. So I think to develop critical thinking through, like, mainly how I did it was through, classroom discussions. Even in my English class, for instance, when we were analyzing a particular, text, we all had different perspectives, and we all had to agree or disagree with each other and hear each other's points of view. And all these discussions makes one think, right? Like, it helps with the thinking, and then you rethink your decisions. And and I think this happened in all my classes, not just English, and especially in TOK, because we were always told from day one that there's no right or wrong answer. It's your answer, it's your point of view, and you should be open to hearing other people's point of view, right? So I think that's what made me a critical thinker in IB, and that's what helped me in all the different facets of my life, as well, as you mentioned, being a leader, being a communicator. Even, for example, I was in boarding school, right? So I started this peer-to-peer counseling session, where it was not really counseling per se, but it was just talking to like the seniors talking to their juniors and understanding each other. So that also really helped me in some sort of way, in sort of critical thinking, and I started relating TOK concepts while having conversations with them. So I feel once you really learn, once you really partake in TOK discussions, you start resonating it to like every different facet of your life. Like, I remember my dad watching news once, and I started being like, oh yeah, we discussed this in TOK, and my friend said this, my teacher said that. So that's what I found really interesting, and I think that's what really helped my critical thinking. And I feel now I can't stop involving TOK in my life, because once it's there, it never goes away, I believe.
Yes, that's a TOK. So Arushi, 2 mistakes students should avoid on their TOK journey in the DP.
Okay, one thing is to not take part in discussions, because I feel if you don't, you won't be able to write your essay, and it's as simple as that. Because there's so many examples and so many different points of view that come in the discussion in your class itself, that you can incorporate in your writing. So it's really important to be really an active member of class discussions. So that's something that you should not avoid, for sure. And another mistake that one could avoid is, as I mentioned earlier, not being open-minded. Just going with the first thing you see just because you think it looks easy is something that one should definitely avoid, because if you explore different titles, if you explore different objects, you might just find something that is actually easier, right? So yeah, just don't go with that mindset that this is what we have to do. Be open-minded in your approach, and I think TOK would be really fun and easy for you.
Good. So Arushi, now everyone in DP2, they want a in TOK. Every student starting the exhibition or starting the essay, they want to achieve that particular star mark A. So can you tell 2 tips for achieving an A grade in overall TOK?
Right. In overall TOK, firstly, ask for help. I think that's something that I've learned from you as well. You always, since day one, you've always, told all your students to like never be afraid to ask your help, no matter like what group, what age group you are, what position you're in. Just ask for help, be it from your peers or be it from your teacher if you don't understand something, because there are points of time when you don't understand anything. Especially like, I remember I'm not a history student, right? So but I still decided to do it as one of my areas of knowledge in my essay, right? So despite I didn't know anything regarding history, and I still wanted to do it because I thought it would be interesting. So I went to the history teacher of my school and I asked her, like, how do I approach this question, what do I do? And she was like happy to help me. So I feel like if you just ask for help, no one's ever going to refuse if you really want to do something, if you really are motivated, like to achieve something. So that's something that you should definitely do in all your subjects, and especially TOK. And another tip that I would give is that just, as I mentioned on and on again, just be open-minded. Just don't think that it's a hard subject and not put in effort, because it's just part of the 3 points. These 3 points can really change your whole IB grade. Like at least it did it for me. I wouldn't have gotten a 40, like reached the 40 mark, if it weren't for my 3 points in the core. So just don't take it lightly and just give up too easily. Just be confident that it will work out and have that mindset. I truly believe in the saying that mindset is everything. If you have that mindset that you want to do something, no one can stop you from doing it unless it's yourself, right? So just be very open-minded, have that approach that I will be able to achieve an A and nothing can get in your way.
Brilliant. Arushi, now we are moving next. Some of the questions related to extended essay. So you have taken extended essay subject economics and got a B. So can you tell what difficulties did you encounter in selecting the correct source for your extended essay?
Right. So first I'll give some background on why I selected my extended essay, and it's all related to what I feel will really help you achieve a good grade in IB, is that it was again very personal to me. So I have this organization, Children's Armour, for which I was recognized as a Diana Award winner, and I in West Bengal I worked with children and their nutrition, right? And there was this particular scheme called Swasthya Sathi scheme in West Bengal, and how it's basically like all the children and all the rural areas were sanctioned like 5 lakhs per year, for the health treatment. And I remember I was spreading awareness about it, because it was given by the government, but barely people knew about it. And then I was just interested to know if the consumption, because the consumption increased, after the scheme was implemented of like hospitals, if it really reduced the negative externalities, which are basically, the negative costs incurred on people who are not involved in the activity. Like, for example, death rates went down, or like diseases, like, reduced. So I was just wondering if this sort of government scheme actually had an effect on it, especially because I worked on it by myself, right? So that's how I chose my topic. Like the research question revolved around to what extent were negative externalities reduced due to the Swasthya Sathi scheme, imposed by the government during a particular period of time, 2018 to 2022. So as mentioned, it was very close to my heart that I did it. However, it was the downside of it was because it was a very local thing, right? There was not much raw data or like information I could find online, and I had to do hours and hours of research. There was just no stopping, and I remember there was just never enough, because for other people were doing other topics of like world news that was available online very easily, but because it was like a very local centric thing, I had to do a lot of primary research. And extended essay, like one thing that everyone should know is that at least for economics, 70% of the economics extended essay should be secondary research, and the rest should be primary, or if not at all, because the examiners want to see if you can research and if you can write your answers, and if there are many different citations that you've used in your essay. So that's something I did struggle with a lot, but I did, after hours of research, I did gather sufficient amount of evidence to support my claims, and overcame that hurdle. And again, my extended essay supervisor really helped me, to tell me and help me structure my essay as well. She told me, she of course just gave me that sort of guidance that this is not needed, don't be doing so much primary research, this won't fetch you the marks, rather spend your time researching. And that saved us so much of my time just by her saying this much to me. So So I feel again like a lot of credit goes to her guidance and her Agrima ma'am's, pushing me to keep working on my essay, and yeah, so that's something that helps.
Very interesting background story. Arushi, can you tell how did you familiarize yourself with the criteria of extended essay to get a good score?
Right. So when the extended essay was introduced, like in the beginning, we were shared all the guidelines, the IB guidelines, the guidebook for extended essay, and then there was a lot of like sample papers that were shared with us by my supervisor itself. And I just looked at the structure and am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you can continue. You are perfect audible.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember we were shared, guidelines and all of the different sample answers, and that helped me, get a sort of like view on how to actually frame my essays. What are the different topics that I need to look into? And another thing, of course, my teacher, like she really helped, us, like the two students that she was working with, on what topics that we should actually look into and write the whole methodology on a particular way and all of that. So yeah, it was definitely the guidelines provided by ID. That's something that you should definitely look at, because that is what they are marking you on, right? So just for all subjects, honestly, just familiarize yourself. Wait, sorry, cut. Okay.
Brilliant.
Wait, I'll do it. Wait, I'm just gonna say again. Okay. It's really important to familiarize yourself with the guides and all the material that is given by the teachers.
Fantastic. So Arushi, again I'm linking with critical thinking, because I see extended essay critical thinking plays a very important role. So what are the ways students can develop a critical thinking skill in extended essay?
Right. So firstly, it's a research question, right? And it's a question that is like quite open-ended but narrow at the same time. So, and you're supposed to answer it yourself. So that involves so much critical thinking, because of course, along with the researching the thing, which you're getting other points of views, while researching, you're looking into news articles, you're looking into different data, you're forming your own interpretations through data, or comparing it to the different news articles and different sources that you're getting and seeing if they match. So all of this really requires critical thinking, and you develop it along the way as well. So extended essay truly plays a huge role in critical thinking due to that.
Very good. So 2 mistakes students should avoid on their way to extended essay journey.
Right. So one mistake again would, of course, do something that's personal to you, but just make sure that before narrowing down to the topic, you should make sure that there's a lot of secondary material available, like for research and for you to be able to justify all your claims. And there should be enough citations there, because it's a research paper after all, right? So that's something that you should avoid by just doing it because you like it. But if there's nothing there on the internet to support your claims, then it's really no point doing it, right? And another mistake is doing your extended last minute, because I remember a lot of people did that, and like a lot of my peers did that, and it really, you won't get a very good formulated answer if you just do it last minute. Like, try to work on it from 11th grade itself. Just allocate maybe even 15 minutes per day to just research a few articles on whatever your research question is about, and just store them on a particular folder, and that'll take you a long way and save so much time, and you'll produce much better quality work if you do that.
Brilliant. For every student doing the extended essay, they want a bonus point tree combination with TOK. So 2 tips for getting an A or a B in extended essay for DP students from your personal experience.
Right. So firstly, for extended essay and TOK both, I feel like it's something that you have to do in both of your TOK years. I mean, like both of your. Wait, can I cut it?
Yes. Cut it.
Okay, I'm answering this question again. Okay. So the first tip that I would like to give is that it shouldn't be done last minute, as I mentioned. It should be worked on the whole 2 years. You're in IB, right? Because then only you'll be able to write well-structured essays and easy to read essays, and that's what the examiners want, that fit the marking criteria of both the extended essay and TOK, and that's the only way you'll be able to achieve a high mark, right? So that's one tip that I would give for you to achieve 3 marks in the core. And another tip would be that do something that, of course, makes sense to you. Just even by choosing like a subject, I did not want to do something that I don't enjoy, just because it'll give me a high mark. Because I remember we were given a range of marks that would be given, and I saw that economics, like number of students who get an A or B, it's like very low. And that scared me. I was just like, what am I doing? Should I do English? Because English had a much higher A margin. So I was really considering that, but I know that if I did English, I would have regretted it because I wouldn't have half the fun I had while doing economics, right? So just don't go by that. Do something that you truly like and you truly would enjoy doing, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're writing, you won't achieve a good grade, right? You should really know that subject that you're writing standard essay on because it's 4,000 words. It's not less at all. So yeah, pick and choose wisely.
Wow, that is Arushi. Fantastic.